Hi guys, Mike Sperduti here, and I am thrilled to be here with my friend Mike Mallaro. Hi
Good to be
Michael.
here, Mike.
Always good to see you.
Yes, it is.
So,
Enjoy it.
this has been weighing on my mind for a period of time. And Mike Mallaro is the CEO of VGM. And as everybody knows, the former CEO of VGM was the founder of the company, Van Miller, who is a legend in the home care business. Mike has to take over for Van Miller. This is like Steve Young taking over for Joe Montana. And the responsibility, I mean, the employees absolutely adored Van, the market adored Van. He passes away. These are big shoes to fill. What's that like?
Well, Mike, I got to tell you, it was somewhat overwhelming at the beginning because I did feel this burden, this obligation to carry on what Dan created. And to your point, he was sort of larger than life.
Totally.
My analogy, kind of an Iowa analogy, is wrestling's a big thing. Dan Gable's the greatest wrestler of all time. Dan Gable coached Iowa and won 20 national championships. The guy that took over for him won 3 national championships in 8 years. He got fired. Jimmy Zaleski. So I remember Jimmy Zaleski when I think about taking over this job. But big burden, but also exciting opportunity.
Sure.
Because when Van passed in 2015, we did have a good company. We had a good model, a good platform, had a great customer base, a lot of good people. So in some ways we were set up for greater success in the future.
Yep.
And so that's comforting. That's helped make it easier for me.
Sure.
And I've got I worked for Van for 14 years, so I learned a lot from Van. And when he died, I created this plaque with his picture and 9 lessons that I learned from him. And I had it engraved there, and it sits behind my desk.
Wow.
And truly, every morning when I come in, I glance over at it, and I look, and those lessons, interestingly, not every one of them come up every day, but usually in a week, one of those really resonates because something happens, or I've got to make a decision, or I got to do something, and one of those lessons is there. And so that's sort of a conduit from Van to me still.
Very cool. So at what point has it happened yet where it was Van? I mean, again, it's not your company. It wasn't his company, right? Because he was the CEO. You're the CEO. At what point did you feel it was Van's company? Now it's not your company, but you're the quarterback at this point. When did you feel like you assumed that role?
I remember the local newspaper, probably the second day I had the job, called me and they wanted to do an interview. And one of the things the guy asked me was, how are you going to make it your company?
Yeah.
It's been Van's company.
Yeah.
And I can remember my response to that at the time was, it's not my company, it's a company that belongs to the employees. And as long as I remember, because we're a 100% employee-owned company.
Correct.
And as long as I remember that, I'm responsible to those people. They're, in essence, the shareholders, and that's who I answer to, and that's who I have to be responsible to. And as long as I make sure I'm taking care of their interests, everything should be okay. And that's how I answered the question at the time and how I was thinking. I still think of it that way. I think every day that's really the burden to me, more so than trying to live up to Van's shadow, is there's 920 people that get their livelihood from the company, and their owners. So everyone owns a small bit, including
so
myself.
Cool.
And but they're looking to me to lead, and I'm responsible for taking care of their families and their livelihood and their future and retirement and all that. So that's what I think about all the time.
But was there a moment where it was like, I would
say it was the end of that first year, kind of when we got through that year. We're a calendar year company, and I took over at the beginning of the year, and I think when we got done with that year, I guess maybe because I'm a bean counter from way back. I'm an accountant. I think that way. I think in terms of the financials. So now we have a full year under our belt. Let's see, what do the numbers say? How do we do? Are we doing okay? And I think at that point it was sort of the epiphany of sort of a pivot to, okay, yeah, this is my deal now. It's me.
So cool.
And clearly it's not me. It's all these people. But
everybody gets it.
Mentally that way.
I understand. Very, very cool. And so you guys won the best company to work for in Iowa?
We did.
Which is really cool.
That was exciting. That was in 2017, and that's based on it's a top workplace contest, and the company out of Philadelphia does that for newspapers all over the United States. So it's based on a survey. You have to turn over your email addresses of everybody who works there, and they survey everybody. And then it's really just a quantitative analysis of who ranked the highest. And we, came out as the top company. And there's some good companies, and
totally.
But yeah, that was quite. And the employees, even though it's based on how they feel, I think people took great pride in the fact that, oh, we're the top company. Here we are, a top company in Iowa, and kind of brought a lot of notoriety to Waterloo and to our company.
Very cool. Well, I can tell you that I have been a fan of VGM since I got introduced to VGM. I had the privilege of meeting Van, being at his house. Obviously, a legend who touches he touched everybody who he ever met. But the cool thing is, so do you. And they are so lucky to have you, and I'm so lucky to have you right now.
Appreciate
as a friend.
it. Good.
Thank you.
It's been good to know you, Mike.
Thank you. Am I dying? Sorry.
That did sound like that.